Hi guys and welcome to Car Focus. Now welcome to the inside of I mean my wife's 2015 Mk7 Golf GTI. Now I've already featured this car on the channel. I did a review on it about a year and a half ago, I think it was. And in that review, I probably wasn't best qualified to do a proper honest review on it because I hadn't driven it anywhere near as much as I have now. So I feel that my opinions of the car have changed slightly. So I thought I'd come out again with the car and I'll just share my thoughts basically, particularly now with the new Mark 8 Golf on the horizon, which quite frankly is horrendous. I personally think they've completely ruined the look of the car. I don't know about the way it drives, but the visuals of the car are absolutely horrible. And I think this Mark 7 is a really well-rounded, great looking, not in your face hot hatch. My wife's owned this car for about 2.5 years now. We both covered about 30,000 miles in the car, including general commuting, trips away in the UK, and also 3,000 miles around Europe, including 2 laps of the Nürburgring. Now, I drove all of those 3,000 miles throughout the whole trip, and that is where I really gained a true appreciation for what this car is really all about. Now, when I reviewed it the first time round, I was driving my RS a lot, my Mark 3 RS, and I was a bit unfair on this car. I wasn't really that excited when I drove this because the RS was, it was kind of exciting. But that's not what this car is about. This car is about everything. This is about a car that will just treat you well in every aspect of your life, no matter what you want to do. So you want to go to the shops and cruise along in a pedestrian manner. This car will do that lovely. Stick it in auto, put it in eco mode, the car will just cruise along, low revs, it'll return you up to 40 miles to the gallon with ease. You want to put people in the back. This has got 5 doors, leather seats all the way through, really comfy, suspension isn't crashy. You're going to have happy passengers in the back as well. It's not loud inside as well, so you can hear what they're saying. You then want to take the car out on a Sunday, on a back road. Now this is where the car, it starts to kind of change personalities, because if you put it in individual mode, for example, set up your own individual preference, so you can set the diff up, the interior sound in the cabin, the response of the throttle, the gearbox, all that kind of thing. The car then becomes a bit of a different car to drive from that subdued sort of car you were using to take to the shops. Now this particular one is the Performance DSG model, so you get a bit more horsepower. We've got approximately 230 there or thereabouts horsepower. Bigger brakes up front to assist you with the stopping force of this car. And then we've got the DSG gearbox as well, which gives you lightning quick gear changes and also makes those really long kind of commutes much more bearable, much less painful on your left foot. It just saves you having to change gear yourself basically. But you do have the manual option in this car, so if you flick the gear selector across to the left, you've then got full control with the paddles on the steering wheel. Now when we were doing the road trip in Europe, we drove to Bruges and then we drove to the Nürburgring. Now the trip to Bruges was quite long. We stayed overnight in Bruges, and this car was just so comfortable. It was lovely. You got the Apple CarPlay, so have your Google Maps and stuff, and your Spotify. You got your adaptive cruise control. Let the gearbox do the work and the cruise control, and you can just kick back and just enjoy the view basically. And then we got towards Nürburgring and we started to hit some more twisty country sort of Bavarian style roads, and that's when I started to put the car into fully manual mode, switched it up into sport and used the paddles, and then it just becomes a bit more alive. And then I got it on the Nürburgring, and that's when I gained the real appreciation for this car, because it kind of just turned into a different kettle of fish. I mean, it wasn't the most focused track car, but after travelling all the way to Nuremberg from England on the roads in comfort, this car then turned into a hot hatch on a racetrack, and I was able to put in a couple of decent laps as well. And the car handled brilliantly. It wasn't too wallowy. Obviously the gear changes are really responsive. The brakes didn't start to fade. It was just really good. And then after that, we probably did 2,000 miles after that, the holiday, and the car just performed brilliantly. There was no breakdowns, no issues at all. It was 100% reliable, and even to this day, touch wood, after covering 30,000 miles, this car hasn't thrown up any problems at all mechanically. I say mechanically because we had a couple of small issues. The driver's side wing mirror, the glass fell off, and that can happen when you leave the heated element on all the time because it melts the glue and the mirror falls off. That was a quick fix, eBay, 15 quid for a new bit of glass. And the infotainment system, there is a recall on that as it's developed a fault where it has a little bit of a mind of its own at times. But other than that, this car has been perfect. It's a really nice place to be inside, really well built. It just feels solid, nicely put together. It's just your typical, your German Volkswagen build quality, really. But then you get on a nice back road and start to push it, and the car does give you some lovely smiles. It's plenty quick enough for a public road. Plenty quick enough. And it just does it all with a nice finesse to it as well. Like I say, it's not brilliant at anything, but it's good at everything, and that's what I always say about this car. You can't really find fault with anything, really. It's just a brilliant all-rounder, and that's what I'm trying to portray in this video to somebody considering getting one of these. It is just a brilliant all-round car. It will return you average driving 35 miles per gallon if you're not a complete lunatic, which is pretty good for a 2-litre turbo. You've got all the mod cons you need. The drive comfort, it looks fantastic on the outside. I just think it's a nice compromise. It saves you having to get something really crazy, and it saves you having to get something really boring. If you want something in the middle, then look no further than a Golf GTI. So you find yourself on a nice twisty road. This car will be more than sufficient to keep you entertained, I can assure you. Push it in some bends. It does actually pull itself around the corner quite nicely, and it feels like the rear is cocking up a rear wheel as well as you throw it into the corners. It just feels like a nice lively little chassis. Roads are a little bit damp, so I'm getting a tad bit of understeer, but this is running the Pirelli P0 tyres. I think if you want the most sorted tyre, you need to go for the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S or the Super Sports, but they're not quite as good in the wet. But yeah, on a slightly damp road, you will get a tad bit of understeer, but when it's dry, it's completely capable. And it's not pulling me all over the road, it's just heading down the road in a straight line, and that just gives you confidence in the car. When you're having to fight with the front wheel and your torque steering all over the place, it doesn't give you confidence when you want to push, on. But with this, you've got every confidence in the car. And what I love about this gearbox is you can just rattle through these gears effortlessly, and you get a nice little fart out the back as well. Pulls strong all the way to about 7,000 revs, and you do go quicker than what it feels like as well. I think this car is definitely quicker than it feels. Yeah, the brakes are really good as well. I believe these are the same brakes as you get on the Golf R. Bit of wheel spin there. Traction control is off. It is very rewarding. And it does feel pretty stable. It feels pretty... The suspension is well set up. It feels pretty neutral. It doesn't feel like your nose diving into a corner too much or anything like that. It doesn't feel too heavy on either end of the car. It does feel pretty neutral. Yeah. I feel quite lucky to have this in the family, actually. Because situations like now where the RS is temporarily off the road and I've only got my daily driver, it's always handy to have this car to hop in, just to kind of get that bit of a thrill that I don't get from driving a 1.6 diesel Mark III Focus Estate. So yeah guys, that is it. That's my quick long-term ownership review of this Golf GTI. Like I say, I can't really say a bad word about it. If you've got any bad things to say about it, then let me know in the comments box. I'd be interested to hear it. I can only think of anything bad to be a very minor thing. Everything about this car, it's all you need. It's all you need in a hot hatch. And if you're craving that little bit more, then by all means, why don't you go for a stage 1 remap? You can get these to 300 brake horsepower quite easily. There are suspension upgrades as well. A better set of tyres, some Michelins all round. I'm sure that'll improve the experience even more. But when you do start modifying cars, you do start taking away that all-round usability and drivability of the car. When you start making them noisier, bumpier, even quicker, it can upset just that overall, how can I say, that overall setup of the car. You can start to disturb it a little bit, but sometimes you just got to appreciate a car in its stock form for what it is. So yeah guys, until next time, I hope you've enjoyed the video. As always, comment, like, subscribe, and I hope to get the RS on the channel soon when it's up and running again. But as always, take care, particularly in this climate with coronavirus and stuff. Look after yourselves, keep yourselves isolated where needs be, blah blah blah. But yeah guys, until the next video, take care, and I shall see you soon.